When you think of flirting in the NBA, it's usually the players who are being flirted with. But to a degree that is sometimes hard to believe, it can really go the other way too. If you don't believe me, then keep watching. Here are some well-known NBA players who got caught trying to make a move while the cameras were rolling. JaVale McGee. It seems like JaVale McGee has played on just about every team in the NBA at some point or another. Yet, throughout his long and bumpy career, McGee has maintained an amazing sense of humor and is probably one of the most well-liked personalities in the league. JaVale isn't afraid to do something unexpected at any given moment. It made him the most frequent guest on Shaqtin' a Fool, and it's also given him a reputation as a flirt. Sometimes, if he's really feeling it, McGee will even disrupt the entire NBA broadcast just so he can shoot his shot. On the one hand, this has the effect of jeopardizing the whole operation. On the other hand, it also has the effect of ensuring that whatever flirtatious maneuver JaVale McGee makes will be broadcast straight into the living room of every home in America. Case in point, back during his time with the Golden State Warriors, which was definitely the best period of his career so far, JaVale was clearly a big fan of the Warriors sideline reporter Ross Gold-Onwude. McGee was living it up in Golden State, and after a particularly good playing performance at home, it was McGee's turn to talk to Ross for a post-game interview. McGee was uninterested in the appropriate way of doing the interview. Instead of allowing Ross to hold the mic and asking questions, JaVale opted for an alternative strategy that probably made the NBC Sports Bay Area crew freak out. JaVale snatched the mic from Ross and began conducting his own interview. This interview included questions about just how fantastic Ross thought JaVale's performance had been and some generous compliments about the dress Ross was wearing that evening. This bold move worked out well for JaVale, at least at first. Ross was clearly flattered and told him she thought his performance during the game was impressive as always. She even asked JaVale how he felt about the way she had braided her hair. It was at this time that McGee suddenly decided he would pivot to auditioning for Shaqtin' a Fool instead of auditioning for a date with Onwude. For some extraordinary reason, McGee told Ross that he did not like the braid and tried to direct attention back to her dress instead. Ross could not believe it. She asked McGee again at the end of the interview whether he really seriously didn't like the braid, giving McGee a second chance after he had already blown a wide open layup, but JaVale wouldn't budge. He just shook his head and returned to the locker room. Just like so many other moments in his unique career, JaVale McGee left us all confused and amused. I'm sure nobody was more confused than Ross Gold-Onwude herself. J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith seems like he's always popping up in these videos, and when social media is involved, you know whatever JR did is bound to be good. Back in 2013, he was playing with the Knicks. J.R. Smith tried a one-liner that became possibly the most famous pickup line in basketball history, even though it totally failed, or maybe in part because it failed and failed so entirely. Smith received a message from a young woman named Megan Brown on Twitter. Brown told JR that she was going to his game that night. Smith replied right away, saying, "Dope." Brown replied with a smiley face, and at first, it seemed like a totally harmless interaction between a fan and a player. That is, until about 3 hours later. That's when J.R. Smith suddenly decided to send another message. He said, "Oh really?" This strange and unusual response didn't make much sense. Megan Brown didn't understand it either and replied, "Oh really what?" Another hour and a half went past as JR began working on his reply. Eventually, at around 5 p.m., at which time JR and the team were probably already at the arena, JR sent an absolutely legendary sentence to Brown. "You trying to get the pipe?" JR's interesting use of language is what made this go viral. If you think about it, a pipe is a firm cylinder or tube that is used to convey fluids. It's actually an incredible analogy. As far as sexual slang goes, this was high quality work on JR's part. The problem was that nobody had ever heard it described that way before. Plus, JR suspected that his pipe was being summoned way before it actually was. In fact, it never was, and there's little reason to think it was ever going to be. It's pretty much impossible to know if Megan Brown was actually trying to get JR's pipe or not, but we definitely know that after JR brought it up, she did show some interest, although JR's pipe did not make any known appearances that evening. We also know the Knicks ended up losing by almost 20 points, and JR played 27 minutes while going 0 for 8 from the field. Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is known for still being in a relationship with his high school sweetheart from back home in Slovenia, and the couple even made an appearance in one of our videos titled Hottest Girlfriends of NBA Players, so you might be surprised to see Luka in this video. But sure enough, Luka has also been caught flirting on camera. In fact, as recently as March of 2021, Luka tried flirting with the referee. This was ambitious to say the least, especially when you consider that Luka's relationship with NBA officials is probably one of the worst. He is constantly complaining about calls he doesn't like. But when 33-year-old Ashley Moyer-Gleish showed up to officiate a game between the Mavericks and the Clippers, suddenly, Luka's attitude transformed dramatically. After Paul George ended up at the free throw line, Luka, like always, felt compelled to argue about the call. He walked up to Ashley and looked like he was about to do the same thing he has done 1,000 times before, but instead, Luka clearly did something totally different. One of the things that makes this moment so interesting is that you kind of have to do detective work to find out what he said. Clearly, Ashley thinks Luka is asking about a foul. "What foul?" she asks. Whatever Doncic is trying to say, he has to say it a couple times before she gets it, but when she does, it's super obvious. The clip has led NBA fans to try and fill in the blank. Maybe Luka said, "I'm falling in love with you." Whatever he said charmed Ashley at least a little bit. It also repulsed Coach Tyronn Lue a lot. Just look at his face. Marco Bellinelli. Marco Bellinelli is the first Italian player to win an NBA championship. He did it back in 2014 with the San Antonio Spurs. This period, during the early to mid 2010s, was undoubtedly the glory of his career so far, but people forget it was also the opposite. Bellinelli got in some serious controversy after an amazing message he sent on Twitter. Nobody even knows who the woman he messaged was, but she definitely got the sports world's attention after she publicly posted what he sent her. Bellinelli, for his opening line, said, "What's up? Want to see something big to eat?" Frankly, it's surprising he got a response at all. When she asked for clarification, Bellinelli definitely provided it. He said, "Yes, something long and thick to eat, LOL." It would have benefited Marco Bellinelli to consult J.R. Smith before sending this message, as his choice of metaphor is nowhere near as accurate. It also would have benefited Bellinelli to realize this was a profoundly stupid and inappropriate move that would probably never work on anybody. In fact, many people even argued it was bordering on harassment. Ray Allen. Marco Bellinelli definitely had an embarrassing moment on Twitter, but it wasn't as embarrassing as what happened with Ray Allen a few years earlier. Ray Allen wasn't shooting a shot on Twitter. He apparently had already shot it and was now in the process of, well, you can take a guess after reading what he said. On March 17, 2010, late in the evening, Ray Allen posted an insanely dirty tweet to hundreds of thousands of followers. Not surprisingly, the tweet was quickly deleted. 14 minutes later, Allen made another tweet, claiming that his account had been hacked. He also said that, in order to prevent his account from being hacked again, he needed to change his username. That doesn't make any sense. Your username is public information. It makes no difference as to whether or not someone can hack you. What does make a difference is your password. I'm no FBI detective, but changing your username seems like a fake solution. Fake solutions only solve fake problems. Allen probably posted this message himself by accident instead of sending it in a private message. But to be fair, it seems like Allen was having a pretty good evening up until that point. LeBron James. LeBron James is another player who's renowned his loyalty when it comes to his marriage. He and Savannah Brinson have been together since they were both in high school, and despite being one of the most famous athletes in history, no tabloid has ever been able to unearth anything that turned into a scandal between the couple. But LeBron does occasionally flirt with other women, and sometimes he can be seen shooting a shot right on national TV. A major target of LeBron's flirting has been the sideline reporter for the Cavs, Allie Clifton. During LeBron's time with the Cavs, the two interacted constantly. At one point, users on Reddit accused LeBron of spanking Clifton during the game. Others simply noticed what seemed to be obvious chemistry between the two, but what really got other people talking was what happened in 2018. As any basketball fan should know, LeBron left Cleveland for the second time and signed with the Los Angeles Lakers. If you didn't know that, then, to quote the Honorable Stephen A. Smith, what kind of damn rock are you living under? But even if you crawled out that rock years ago, what you probably still didn't know is that Allie Clifton followed LeBron to LA. Since 2018, she's been the Lakers sideline reporter, meaning she gets to continue having more long and sweaty post-game interviews with the King, asking him seductive questions like, "Can you share your discipline tips with me?" LeBron isn't the only former Cavs player to flirt with Allie Clifton either. Tristan Thompson had a much more blatant moment during his own interview with her a few years back. It's hard to tell if Thompson was flirting more with Clifton or with the camera. Likewise, Clifton isn't the only NBA reporter that LeBron has tried to shoot a shot with. Another target during his time with the Cavs was Kristen Ledlow. Ledlow interviewed LeBron during a practice, and the whole sequence was super flirtatious. First, LeBron started by imitating Ledlow by making fun of her, which she obviously liked. Next, he explained to Ledlow that he was full of energy and in a good mood. Ledlow responded by saying, "We can talk about anything you want. Got anything on your mind?" As you might imagine, he did. LeBron began teasing Ledlow about some inside joke they apparently had together involving British soccer teams. If that makes you suspicious, you're not alone. This seemed even more suspicious when Ledlow and James both quickly agreed that they had better discuss later, off camera. LeBron also once shot his shot with Amy Schumer while the two were filming the movie Trainwreck. There's literally no way LeBron could possibly have been flirting with Schumer, but he did shoot his shot, literally. Schumer made a joke about how she thought the hoop must not be regulation height, and of course, nobody laughed. Joel Embiid. So far, we've seen NBA players flirt during a particular moment when the opportunity arises, but for Joel Embiid, flirting has been an ongoing process lasting for years. When Embiid first entered the NBA back in 2014, he was convinced that he was destined to date Kim Kardashian. He wasn't shy about it either. He posted about it on social media and tried to get her attention. Luckily, a fan was able to stop Embiid and inform him that Kim Kardashian was already married to an extremely wealthy and unstable man. Embiid immediately abandoned his efforts to win over Kim, but he didn't stop flirting. In fact, Embiid simply decided that, all along, he had been destined to date a different celebrity, Rihanna. Embiid invited Rihanna to a dinner date on Twitter and started posting Photoshop pictures of her wearing his jersey. He even started using the hashtag Joanna to represent their supposed couple name. This cheesy and aggressive flirtation got a lot of attention at the time, including eventually the attention of Rihanna herself. According to Embiid, she turned him down saying, "Come back when you're an all-star." Totally unfazed, Embiid went and became an all-star. You'd think that meant he finally landed his dream date, but weirdly, the story is more complicated than that. At first, Joel apparently changed his mind. Even though he'd become an all-star, he seemed like he didn't want to go ask Rihanna out again after he'd already been rejected once. But soon enough, Embiid began to change his tune. He later explained that his real strategy was to take his time and trust the process. Embiid is very proud of the fact that he and Rihanna follow each other on Twitter, something that's probably not even half as impressive as he thinks it is. Embiid seems confident that this is the way he will be able to finally land a date, by sliding into Rihanna's DMs. I'm sure that inbox is desperate for new messages. If you like this video, be sure to check out our other videos, like NBA's ugliest shooting forms, the hottest girlfriends of NBA players, and best NBA fights and ejections of all time. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any great content like this. Catch you in the next video.